What's the most unbalanced thing your DM has done? Let us know in the comments below. My DM rolled a D100 for random encounters. He rolled 100. He looks up, kinda shook. We gawk in awe as this is about to be something special. We then proceed to fight an adult red dragon at level 5. And we win! Well, the DM didn't just let us win. We were traveling with assassins we were most likely going to stab in the back, and they dumped their poison arrows into the dragon, halving its HP before being scorched and chewed up. Next session, he rolls the same D100, and he gets lucky 77. We are very confused as he says this. We run into a man standing in the road with dice in his hand asking, "Wanna play?" Me thinking, it's funny. Of course says yes and begins by betting 10 gold. I use my invisible mage hand from telekinetic feat to cheat the dice. I win. 10 gold. Nice. The man wants to up the bet and suggests I throw in my magic sword. Well, I'm a hexblade who can't technically lose it because of my pact, so of course I say yes, because if I lose, nothing will happen, right? I do the same thing again and cheat the dice. He gives me an odd look and I worry, well, my gig is up. But he says nothing about it and pulls out a deck of cards and says I can pull 1. I'm thinking, this must be the deck of illusions and that's my prize he wants to demonstrate. Nope. It's exactly what you think it is. My DM pulls out his phone and wants me to tap the deck to randomly pull a card. At this point, I didn't know how crazy and dangerous the deck was. I just thought it was a semi-powerful and funny magic item. I pull the star, +2 charisma, just like that. The man I had gambled with was the literal god of gambling. So here I am at level 6 with 22 charisma, a shield made from dragon bits, and a fuck ton of gold from selling dragon bits. He dropped a monster that could deal over 90 damage per round on a level 2 party because we failed the perception check to detect it. Also on the same campaign, when the replacement characters were level 4, he forcibly split us into pairs and made one of the pairs fight 16 dire wolves at once. I quit the campaign shortly after that one. Given me, a sorcerer, a magic book that each long rest lets me pick a spell for each of my spell slots. So currently 5 spells from 1st to 5th level slots. There's no limit on spell lists of classes. They could be any spells, with the only limit being they have to be from up to 2 schools of spells at a time. Originally, I also got 1 spell from a level 1 higher than what I could cast with a cost of taking some psychic damage, which I'm resistant to from my subclass, but giving friendly feedback to the DM, he removed that one. Theoretically, I could have gotten basically free casting of Wish spell starting level 15 as an example otherwise. They're a great DM and a player, but I fear what's to come in the future. They're definitely the type of person to do wild stuff just to see what happens. At some point when the players make truly idiotic choices, balance goes out the window, and you instead look at everything the enemy faction has to throw at them and pile it all in a single encounter. That happened for me several years ago. A party of level 17s were clearing out a city of undead that worshipped the primordial force of entropy and wanted to kill the god of death. Now, basically, our cleric of Kelmivore wasn't going to let that happen. So, the party got to work. They found a teleportation circle to the top of a tower and then killed an ancient shadow dragon followed by a night walker, retreating through the circle each time, despite knowing that ghosts and shades were watching them from outside true sight range. They cleared out some more of the above-ground stuff, making no attempt to be subtle, before heading to the necropolis to hunt for the other 3 big bads of the area: a lich, a buffed mummy lord, and a ghoul king from Tome of Foes. They tangled with some minions and had some rough dice luck, so retreated through the circle a 3rd time, but got distracted with random stuff for almost a week in-game time. Then, they went back through the same circle for the 4th time! No scrying, no divinations, not even an augury. Just went right through like it was nothing. The undead at this point basically knew the party was using the circle, as they were super powerful spellcasters with tons of caster minions, and they even knew that this was a direct attack by Kelmavor's servants. They had zero reason to hold back, so I didn't! I had them use their own divination magics to learn when the party would return, then used every one of their spell slots placing a blanket of Glyph of Wardings over the circle, finishing with a Glyph of Force Cage and Anti-Magic Field. 2 PCs immediately died. One survived at 1 HP due to Death Ward, and I let the Barbarian rage after the first ward went off, so he was semi-kinda okay. They forced a non-magical potion down the cleric's throat and told her they would devour the souls of all their friends unless she summoned her god right then and there to save them. She divine interventioned, and what do you know? It worked. The avatar of Kelmavor showed up to do battle with his mortal foes and started out by true resurrectioning the 2 dead PCs. Even with a CR25 avatar of a deity on their side, it was very touch and go, and the avatar lost an arm into a sphere of annihilation mounted on a Death Knight's shield. Zero balance was involved in making that fight, and if the divine intervention had failed, they would 110% have TPK'd, with the cleric being tortured, mind-controlled into summoning her god in an even worse spot, where he could permanently be destroyed. One of the first times my brother was DMing, he suffered from the same thing every new DM does.
This rule doesn't make sense. I can do better than that.
The scenario was another player falling into a pit filled with spider webs. Said player was a wizard. DM then rules that you can't reasonably cast spells while the wizard is restrained by webs. Harsh, but, somewhat understandable house rule. Followed that by the wizard repeatedly doing stealth checks miserably over several turns. He finally rolls what the DM determined to be good enough. Then the DM says, "You can move your hands now, but you're still stuck in the webs." So the player needs to roll several successful strength checks, I guess. That wizard spent the whole fight stuck in a pit that not even the DM seemed to know how he could get out of. My brother is a very smart and reasonable person, but DMing this game isn't always easy, and I don't think any less of him for this blunder. New DMs always think they know better than the system and make everyone else pay the price for it. My old DM did everything possible to make sure that enemies escaped from combat. Runaway, secret tunnels, special unique magic items, etc., and kept track of which ones had escaped. Later, when we'd get to a mid-boss or a major boss, the enemies who had escaped would come back and join in on that fight, making the encounter much harder. And even when we did take out certain enemies, if they were arcane spellcasters, they had a clone body waiting for them to inhabit. So we'd have to fight the clone versions. On top of that, if he ran modules, we would eventually find out after the fact that he not only did everything I mentioned above, but he tended to remove magic items, reduce their powers or bonuses, or limit their functions. For an example, wands just wouldn't recharge. Yeah, purposely handicapping your players is a bad thing. Never do that as a DM. I lovingly developed my level 1 Elven Wizard to join an existing level 6 group. How did I meet them? We met on a beach near the party headquarters. Before talking, a dragon turtle came ashore and turn 1 destroyed half the forest abutting the beach. Also destroying 100% of my poor little elven ass, which was running as hard as possible at the first sight of the thing. 5 or 6 times lethal damage. I didn't even leave an ash shadow. This was 2nd edition, Ancient Dragon Turtle, caster levels, chain lightning. It seemed a little unbalanced to me. Yeah, me too. Later, the same DM ruled that my paladin had violated his oath when he started to attack anything that moved. After being transported to a strange dimension, after asking if I detect evil, was told, "Everything is evil. The entire plane is evil. You go blind." Even after through time travel shenanigans, I managed to convert all of humanity over to my god's worship. Yeah, that just stung a little. The DM railroaded the party into fighting a group of dudes that called themselves Reapers. For reference, 1 Reaper is a challenge already. for 7 level 20s in the party. We faced around 11 Reapers in that encounter. Only 2 of us survived, the Rogue and me, the Ranger. High five for Ranger. However, the Artificer heroically immolated herself, killing 7 Reapers in the process. She created a huge explosion. Those that didn't die from it were either dead, already had retreated due to injuries. One had a non-magical teleport, the other was a speedster with a walking speed of 200 feet. Funnily enough, my Ranger could travel faster, unkillable or too far from the center of the explosion. The thing is, even though the Artificer did that, the Reaper that survived the explosion, even though she was at the center of it, was immortal. So she took an important object from the Artificer's body, object we were guarding. After that, the party was revived by a god, and that same god true resurrected half the Reapers that died. So yeah, that combat and the Artificer's sacrifice really didn't matter much. What was the point of it? We will never know. I've tossed the balance out the window and throw tough encounters at my players. I've also given them powerful magic items and equipment, so I don't feel bad about throwing tough encounters at them. I'm not worried about it being balanced. I was excited to see the wacky shenanigans my players would invent to defeat the encounters. It's pretty much, hey, this monster looks interesting, and I saw this one movie. This is across multiple RPG settings. D&D BECMI, AD&D 2nd Edition, D&D 3rd and 3.5, Star Wars D6 and D20, Scion RPG, Palladium Rifts, and others. Haven't DM'd 5th Edition yet. I get to finally be a player. Yes, I'm old. It's okay. The one that comes to mind is a homebrewed ability that was just absolutely broken from the start. Verbal activation and an action to use. Succeed on a whiz save, or be paralyzed for 10 minutes with no repeat saves. And it wasn't a low save either. We were, I think, level 3 or 4, and the DC was like 17 plus. This happened a couple years ago, so I don't recall the specifics, only that it was a high whiz save versus 10 minutes of paralysis without the opportunity to repeat the save regardless of what happens. Effectively, save versus death in basically any scenario. It was not fun. My DM gave one of the players the ability to summon a devil army 9 times. His character would get pissed off about some baddies and, as an action, create a portal. And a regiment from hell would start streaming out of the portal. The leader of the regiment would ask him what he wanted done, and then the devils would just do his bidding. In military fashion. As long as it was something simple or violent. Usually, they would end up slaying all of our enemies in grotesque fashion and then return back to hell. It was ridiculous, but it was also kind of amazing that it was still fun, even for the other characters since it didn't take too long, and it had unpredictable impacts on the plot and our relationships. I mean, I don't have anything to that level, but I got a potion once that I could take to gain a random mutation in order to gain an extra level 4 spell slot permanently. As a warlock, that was a big win, especially before the final boss. The mutation I got was gills and webbed hands and feet, giving me a swimming speed but disadvantage on charisma checks. There were much worse things I could have gotten, but it ended up being more of a negative for my character than most because I was the son of a merchant noble and wanted to do the same, and this pretty much squashed those chances. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments below. What's one of the most unbalanced things that your DM has ever done? And of course, if you want to keep the balance on our channel, make sure to join our membership program. You get early access to videos, and we get to keep the lights on. We love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo for now.